everyone. My name is Joy Maleti and welcome to Money Matters. Money Matters is an interactive show that aims to educate viewers on consumer rights and provide advice related to money. Do you have a money-related problem that you would perhaps like advice on? Contact us and we may be able to provide some expert advice. Today, we're talking business startups. How does one even start a business? How does one even begin to finance a startup? With all the recent events and the impacts that these have had on a number of individuals, it has become increasingly important for people to find alternative ways of generating an income to support their families, of course. A number of people have been motivated to start their own businesses to achieve this goal. But the one question that always creeps in is, where do I even begin? I don't even know where to start. Well, we are joined by Uthapelo Moloi, an economist and financial advisor who will help us unpack some of these challenging questions around business startups. Please join in on the discussion on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag #MMOnSID. Welcome, Thapelo, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us in studio.
Thank you so much, Joy, and I really appreciate the opportunity once again.
Looking forward to another insightful conversation as we talk business startups. Now, let's take it back to Business Economics 101. What is an entrepreneur?
Okay, that's another good question there. So I would actually define an entrepreneur as someone who looks out for an opportunity that exists in the market, but not only looks out for an opportunity, but also goes after that opportunity. In other words, they put in the work to profit from that opportunity. So an entrepreneur is someone who sees an opportunity where others don't, and then they go after that opportunity.
Would you say there are certain traits that one should possess to be an entrepreneur-like individual?
I think there are some common ones, right? Although I think there are differences and maybe nuances here and there, but I think there are some common ones that you find amongst entrepreneurs. Like I said, it's someone who looks for an opportunity. That's the first thing. So you need to be someone who's always looking out for opportunities out there. And I think it's someone who is also very innovative, right? Once you see an opportunity, you need to find a way to innovate a solution towards that. So definitely someone who's innovative. And I think one should also be passionate about what they do, because I see quite a lot of businesses fail just on the basis that someone is doing what they don't love, right? They're in a business that they actually don't love. So you need to be passionate about what you're doing and the type of business that you want to get into. So I think those are some of the traits that you find in entrepreneurs. And of course, the usual ones, you must be tenacious, right? Be determined and goal-driven, because running a business is not the easiest of things. So I think those are very important as well.
And I just want to challenge you on the passion bit.
Okay.
Do you really have to have a passion for, say, the line of business that you want to go into? Or is it sometimes driven by circumstances, as an example? Do you always have to have the passion? I think that's
So I would answer it with a definite yes, and I'll tell you why, right? I often see entrepreneurs, what I call entrepreneurs by situation. And those are people that are entrepreneurs because they can't find a job, or they're entrepreneurs because, well, I just lost my job and I'm trying to survive. And they become entrepreneurs, and those are the most difficult entrepreneurs. So I think passion is very, very important, because when the going gets tough, right? As they say, the tough gets going if you get lost behind. So you need to do something that you love, because then it will not be work, or it will not be hard for you to wake up in the morning and go to work, right? If you enjoy crafting, right? And you make money out of it, for you, it's not going to be a job. But for the next person who has to craft because they're trying to survive, it becomes a little bit difficult for them to wake up in the morning. That's why you find, if you look at businesses, really a lot of discussions that happen in the corridors, because people don't want to be here. This is not what they love. But if someone is passionate about what they do, they really go the extra mile. And sometimes it doesn't feel like they're working.
And can you develop the passion along the way?
I suppose you can. Depending on how you get there. But I suppose you can get to a point where you really enjoy what you're doing. And maybe it might not have been from the very beginning what you really loved, but as you get to learn the trade and as you get to understand the secrets behind running that, I suppose you can then develop the passion for it. But
Develop
I
a
still
liking.
say you need to do what you love.
Okay. And how is it important then for an entrepreneur to create a brand around their business, particularly when it's starting out, like at its infancy?
Yeah, I think that's very important because building. You also need to realize that it's not only about the idea itself, right, or the business itself. It's also around creating a brand and raising the necessary awareness about your business. This is marketing 101, right? And often I think we always get it wrong between marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Marketing is just raising awareness, and
Yeah.
that's what it is. And then it's how you convert the awareness into a sale, into a business, and that often talks to the brand itself. Research is now showing that actually people don't support businesses simply because it's a business, right? People get behind brands,
Yeah.
and brands normally it's about how do you relate to your customers? Can customers actually find meaning in what you're offering as a business? If they don't find meaning, no matter how technical it might be, but if they don't relate to the brand, they're not going to support the brand, right? No matter how good it is. So people buy brands, and these are brands that actually relate to themselves, and they can really get a story behind that.
Brand loyalty.
Yeah.
That's how you build it.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. And I suppose also, I mean, there are quite a number of key areas or focus areas that I should have as an entrepreneur starting out in business, right? What are some of those to ensure that at least my startup, continues being successful?
So I think I always preach that the first thing is you need to always articulate and have a clear vision. That's I think the most important thing. And of course, forging an opportunity into a business idea and the execution that then follows after that. But I think it's articulating clearly the vision itself. So what do you want to achieve at the end of the day with the business? And I think that's where you often get it wrong, right? Articulating that. And I think then the second is how do you then assemble a proper team that can work with you? Because your people can either make your business to grow or they can actually take it back, right? So assembling the right team. Again, that's another focus area we get wrong.
Yes.
We give we allow people into our team that really don't share the vision and aren't going where we're going. So it's about assembling a proper team. Then, of course, it's about raising capital, right? Which is also another difficult one in South Africa. And if you look at the Instagram story, you'll actually realize not only in South Africa where people actually have issues with raising capital, but even the world over. And I often argue that where there is a need, money will flow towards that, right? So it doesn't matter what it is and how much you need. So raising a capital is also very important. I mean, also location. Where is your business located? You can't be in a remote area hoping to get customers when they can't even see you, right? So it's also about the location. And I think you also need to make sure that you learn about your competitors or your competition, and how do you then set yourself apart from your competitors? What is it that will make you different from all the others that are in the industry? And I think the last one is meeting your customers' needs. That's very important at the top.
That's quite true, and quite a number of nuances, I suppose, that we've picked up. And I think the one element is that of the team, which is very important for me because I think, as you've mentioned, you can be a really good cook, but it doesn't make you a business person.
Yes, that's true.
We need to take a break, and when we come back, we'll touch on some of the challenges faced by entrepreneurs. Please stay tuned and share your views and comments with us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Money Matters. We are still talking business startups. And before the break, Utapelo Moloi, our guest, economist and financial advisor, was touching on quite a number of key focus areas or fundamentals that entrepreneurs need to look out for when starting out a business. Don't forget that you are also part of this discussion. Please do share your views and comments with us on Twitter and Facebook. The hashtag is #MMOnSID. Again, the hashtag #MMOnSID. Please do tag us as you share your views and comments. Now let's continue with the conversation. Tapelo, I've had an opportunity of working with a startup, and through this experience, I think to a certain extent, I've had an appreciation of some of the challenges that startups do go through. Can you perhaps touch on some of the key mistakes or rather challenges that one should look out for when starting out?
Yeah, I think that's another good question. I think there's quite a lot of challenges that most startups face. There's obviously industry challenges, right? So there's certain industries in which before you can even start working or trading, it's important that you actually align yourself to the requirements, like the construction sector. There's certain technical requirements that you must have. So you must go over that hurdle first before you can start making business. And I think all entrepreneurs need to realize that actually the success of their businesses lies in making the customer the center of what you do.
Yeah.
And I think I need to explain that. I mean that literally, right? You need to make the customer the center of what you do. Often as entrepreneurs, we think that it's about us. I'm the CEO or I'm the MD and everything is about you and about you. So we need to realize that it's about the customer. That's the first challenge I think we all need to go over. But I think I've touched on the other side, other ones as well, to say articulate the vision. It should be clear. And it should be clear not only to yourself, but to the team that you're working with so that they can support you in making sure that you achieve the dream. But if your people are not clear on what the vision and the dream is, it's often very difficult to actually move over that first hurdle. And of course, I think, like I said, raising capital is some of the difficulties that you'd have to go over, right? Like I said, where there is a need, usually money flows towards that. So it's about identifying what the need is, and then you'll see money going into that. And where there is no need, money will not flow, either in capital or even customers, right? So it's about identifying what the need is and making sure that you go towards the need. And again, I'll just emphasize that it's also about making sure that you differentiate yourself from your competitors as much as you possibly can. Because what's the point of having a blue logo when your competitor has a blue logo? It becomes very difficult for people to know.
But I think also what's quite important is that competitive advantage, right? What is your competitive advantage as you set out to start up your business? Quite interesting. And do you perhaps think that millennials or the post-millennial generation has got the zeal and the perseverance to sort of see their businesses through certain challenges?
I think there are more opportunities now than before, right? And maybe with the current dispensation, there's actually more opportunities than before. And we're seeing a breed of entrepreneurs in industries and sectors that we never thought there could be a business, like Instagram.
Social media.
And like I'm saying, if you look at Instagram, none of us thought it could be a business, or you could run a business from Instagram. So I think opportunities actually exist out there, and there's so many of them that the millennials can take advantage of. But I just want to caution that you need to be clear, right? You need to be clear on what you're going to do and what you're planning to do. And then you need to align execution to that. So identify that opportunity. And I think the millennials can, and there's quite a lot of opportunities, like I said. But once you've identified that opportunity, plan and execute accordingly.
And also you need to innovate, right? Because there's also that challenge of longevity. I mean, how long will you remain relevant?
Definitely.
And that's quite a challenge.
Definitely.
What are some of the most lucrative industries as I look to starting up a business? What do you think are some of the lucrative industries that one could potentially look into?
Look, like I said, I think opportunities exist everywhere, right? It's about identifying what the current need is, right? So in other words, the most lucrative businesses are the ones that actually address a current need. So if you look at currently what's happening is with the COVID-19,
Yeah.
yes, it has been bad to some businesses. Some have had to actually close. But we're finding that there's actually other ideas that are being innovated around COVID-19, and we're starting businesses around COVID-19. I think if you look back 5-6 years ago, all of us did not think a sanitizer would be the biggest thing. But all of a sudden, last year, there was a rush for sanitizers, and you went to every shop, you couldn't find sanitizers. So now, all of a sudden, sanitizers became important, and we saw a breed of entrepreneurs that started business around sanitizers. So you need to find what the need is, right? So that's the first thing. And also, I think the other one that's more lucrative is around tech. We're going to the fourth industrial revolution, and I think we're already talking about the fifth industrial revolution already. So we need to align ourselves. And I think what's really important about the 4IR is that it affects every business. Doesn't matter what sector you are in. Exactly. You need to innovate and align yourself to the fourth industrial revolution. So businesses that are in the 4IR are starting to become very lucrative these days.
And there's quite a number of tech industries, right? You've got financial tech, you've got edu-tech, you've got quite a number of tech sectors that one can look into. And I mean, I think you've touched on tech, and I think they, you know, for the ordinary person on the street, I think thinking of things like, you know, car wash, the beauty industry and things like that. I think those are some of the things that are the tangible things that people can then start.
Definitely. I think you can start. I mean, like I'm saying, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Even if you start a car wash, you need to find a way to align yourself to what's happening in the market. Because if you don't align yourself with your car wash, you're not going to make it. You do find car washes that are employing the latest technology, right? And those are becoming more and more successful. You do find, you know, stationary businesses that are becoming more innovative. Nowadays, we're using green stationery, right? Those type of stationery that we never used before. But people are going for greener paper. So if you're a stationery business, don't provide that old type of paper. We need to provide green that's more recyclable, that's more friendly to the environment and all that. So it's about aligning yourself with what's happening, and then as you said, continue innovating around that.
Moving with the times, right? Thanks. That was quite powerful. If you were to give our viewers 5 rules in developing a successful startup, what would those be?
I think 1, focus on the customer. It's not about you.
It's not you.
Yes, I know you're the MD, like I said, and we often think it's about us, but it's about your customer. What do your customers need, right? I think we are too quick as entrepreneurs to tell customers what we can provide. And often at times you busy going on for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, telling people about your business when it's something that they don't need. It's
not the problem.
It's not the problem. It's not what we need at hand. So you need to identify what is it that your customers need. And I think it's the other mistake that we make around that is that we assume we know what customers need, when in fact we should be going to customers and gathering information. What do people want? It's easy to say, I'm going to start a sanitizing business, but what type of sanitizer? There's quite a lot of details around that. As simple as that sounds, a car wash, as simple as that sounds, but what type of car wash do people actually need? So it's about focusing on the customer. And I think tied to that is number 2, you need to create the right solution based on the need. So you identify your customer's need, and then you innovate a solution, right? You create a solution around that. And I think we already touched on it, which is the third one, is making sure that you put together a great team that shares in the vision that you have. And then you build a proper marketing strategy. And I think that's also very key. And often our marketing strategy is not even aligned to the customer's need. You're busy printing out brochures and giving them to people in town. You walk down the street, they've thrown your paper down there. So they're actually telling you that we don't need what you're advertising. So your marketing strategy should always be aligned to what your customers need. What is it that they want? Because if you're going to market yourself in a manner in which they understand and in a language that they understand, whether you're using brochures or using social media, whatever, people would click and follow you because the marketing strategy is aligned to what they need. And I think the last one is execute and constantly review. I think that's very important. As you execute your business, always go back and review. Am I still relevant in the market? Because sometimes, you might be innovative and come up with this brilliant idea. The truth is 6 months later, someone is going to follow you.
Might be outdated.
Right? Yeah. As they follow you, you need to constantly innovate as they follow you. So I think those are very important.
We're going for a quick break. Please do continue to share your views and comments with us on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag #MM on SID. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Money Matters. We're still talking starting your own business with our guest, Thapelo Moloi, an economist and financial advisor. Before the break, we were tackling some of the key critical questions around some of the challenges faced by, business startups. And I just want to pick up on some of those questions with our guest, Thapelo. So Thapelo, I think, we've touched quite a bit on some of the challenges, and one of them was funding, right, for startups. What are the various funding models that I can apply as a startup looking into starting up a business?
Yeah, so definitely funding is very important.
Yeah.
And I think it's a common question around with all entrepreneurs, how do I raise funding? You've got grant funding if you're very lucky, which is very difficult to find. But you do have grant funding that you can explore, which you can get from big business, which can help you with starting your business. So that's one of them. You can also go out and look for a loan, which is also very difficult from a bank to actually get a loan. But that's another option that you can look at. And I think the other one, which is also very key, is giving out equity. I know sometimes when you're starting our business, it's our baby and we want to grow it. Sometimes you need to get the second person or the third person, fourth person that perhaps shares your vision, but maybe can drive it from a different way, maybe marketing, HR, or whatever. So you can look at also giving out equity to get more people to fund your business.
I'm not going to go there, but I was going to touch on how do you value that business at its infancy when you're giving out that equity. Yeah. But I think that's quite, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
And again, why is it so important that from the profits that I make, that I reinvest these in my business?
Yeah, I think we are too quick. Once we make a profit, we are too quick to spend it.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look at most big business, actually, that's the last thing that they do. In other words, they actually issue out dividends as the last thing when they can see that we can still make it over the next coming short to medium term. So reinvesting in your business is actually important because it allows you then to grow your business, right? And it gives you enough space to actually maneuver around what else can you do, where can you innovate, right? And making sure that you drive your business towards where it needs to be. So reinvesting the business is very important because, like I'm saying, it allows you to have space and the ability to actually look at where else can you actually go and what can you bring in terms of innovation as well.
And I think also it's quite critical and quite key, particularly for our viewers at home, to take note of the fact that sometimes it might even be a challenge to break even, right?
Yeah.
And that could distract you. Right, in the journey. And I really want you to perhaps touch on some of the distractions that we might pick up along the journey that we should essentially avoid. I've mentioned one of them being not breaking even when you are expecting to break even, because we do appreciate that, some of the upfront costs can be quite hefty, for startups. And you mentioned marketing and things like that. What are some of the other distractions that we should be avoiding?
I'll still go back to the point that says it's not about you.
It's
very easy to make everything about you in your business, and that can distract you from what you want to achieve. So always make sure that you focus on the right stuff, and it starts with your customer. So focus on that. Don't get distracted by every other thing. The other thing that can distract us, I think, it's wanting to show people that I've made it, right? As a business person, you get a tender for 10 million, and all of a sudden, the world is your oyster.
I know.
And then you forget that actually your profit could be 10% of that 10 million, because the rest of the amount is actually costs. People, inventory, and all the other things that you need to buy. So often at times we look at this 10 million and we think, that's my money. In fact, it's not your money. Some of it might be, right, as in a profit, but the biggest one is making sure that you execute. So focus on the customer and also forget about being flashy. It's not going to help you. Otherwise, you'll get distracted along the way.
That's true. So, and I think what I've picked up again is the importance of pricing, right? And pricing your product right.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're starting out, and I think what's quite key again is do not focus on early profits, because those might not necessarily come.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's a lot that has been said, and I'm pretty sure that there are quite a number of things to mull over, regarding starting a business and the likes. And can I just get your final thoughts and views around starting up? You can go as broad as you want, about starting up a business.
Yeah, I think we need more businesses in South Africa. We need more young people to actually do away with that. I'm studying so that I can get a job. We need to start thinking about, if I'm studying to start a business, so that I can do whatever that I love. So we need more businesses. Now, if you look at the South African economy, it's actually, in terms of businesses, it's actually a triangular, if you like. And at the top of the triangular sits those big business, right, that are making billions of rands and all that. But if you look at the employment, they're not employing, because right at the top there, it's very tough. And then you do find the middle sector, which is your SMME, small to medium enterprise. And that's where a lot of employment is actually taking place. People who start businesses, like some of the viewers at home, I started a business and I employ 2 or 3 people. And then right at the bottom, you find the informal sector, right? Those businesses that are in the streets by our aunts and mothers. You do find quite a lot of that. So my parting shot would be that we need more businesses so that we can actually create more employment. And I think that's very important.
Thank you so much, Thapelo, for joining us and for those wonderful insights. And well, that's how we wrap up our conversation for today. We look forward to continuing this discussion with you on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag #MMOnSID. Please use the details that are appearing on your screen right now. See you online shortly, but for those who can't log on, please do join us again for another episode of Money Matters next week. Same time, same place for more insightful conversations about money. And from me, Joy Maleti, and the rest of the Money Matters team, it's goodbye and God bless.